This is my book called The Beauty of Being Free. And the interesting thing is, before I actually tell you, there's a number of things that inspired me. My husband inspired me to develop a book that I could not only give away for free as an ebook, but really hitting on some points about freedom. I remember the time that he had suggested that I do the book. I had taken a picture where I had blonde braids in, which was very different for me. And I knew that a lot of people would have something to say, but at that point I really didn't care. And he had taken a picture of me. I was kind of posing like this. And he had put it on Facebook, and he put the words across it, The Beauty of Being Free. And then that kind of had me thinking, that's the name of the book. But there's a backstory to it, and I think it's really, really important to tell the backstory and the journey to me really getting the signal that that was the name of this book. And I want to do that first by reading the foreword. I met a young man in Chicago when I released my first book, From Ordinary to Extraordinary. And he actually happened to be a good friend of Prince, but he's a wonderful musician, guitar artist, and I'll tell you the rest of who he is after I read this. But he was the one that I had asked to write the foreword for this book, and he so graciously said yes. And so I want to read it, and then after I read it, I'll tell you his name, and I want you to really listen. He says, strength has many definitions. It is the intrinsic quality of the divine soul that causes what is not believed to possess the ability to overcome all obstacles that impair progress. It is the eternal source of light that guides the blind to the dawn of freedom. Strength is eternal and unpossessed of any, yet it is seen in all things. It is the meek slave woman who accomplishes the unthinkable. It is the Hebrew child born to rule. It is the patience to outlive oppressors. It is the overturning of systems in the blink of an eye. Strength is knowing innately what no one else believes and manifesting it before disbelieving eyes. It is tied to faith in the unseen. As the sperm knows of no world beyond the egg, and the fetus that it becomes knows nothing beyond the womb. As the child loves their mother, strength is the constant breaking through the known into the unknown and learning to master what is completely new. This is a brief walk into the realm of the unexplored self. On the other side is a better you, free from anxiety, fear, and grief. Take this journey and mount up on the wings of discovery of what has been inside of you all along. Atiya has the rare ability to articulate what we know deep inside, but we never say to ourselves. Her words are a doorway to a mirror, one in which each is able to see the best part of us. This simple truth can be said in the most eloquent manner, and the gentle delivery brings ease to the mind and heart. Listen with your soul, and you will feel elevated as you read. May you be blessed to transcend to your higher self. Anybody who knows me know I'm very sensitive. I don't apologize for that. But that was written by Amin Shabazz Muhammad, and he is a practitioner of the martial and healing arts. He's a professional in information technology and coding, and he actually lives in Minnesota in the United States. So what inspired me to write this book started as a seed that was planted a long time ago. And it was in that constant nurturing and watering that my husband did that actually helped it to germinate and break through the soil to make this book become or manifest into a reality. But I want to touch on a couple things that Amin said, because when I wrote this book, I was struggling with fear. I was struggling with grief and anxiety. And I knew how to help others become free. But the one thing that my husband was helping me to do was to be okay and be free with being myself. So if I decided one day I wanted to put blonde hair in, or another day to put red or whatever, it didn't matter. He was helping me to heal me to be okay with myself. But this book came, like all the books that I've written, they come through a process of me communing with spirit. And the words in this book, and I'm going to read another little part of it that I wrote, but Amin says her words are a doorway to a mirror. And the reality is, when I wrote this book, it was a doorway to a mirror. It was a doorway to a mirror to my own soul, my own self. And so as I was writing this, I was healing. I was going through my own healing process. And I didn't even know it was done so gently and so soulfully. And it wasn't until I came back later, and sometimes come back to it, that I actually saw, wow, that the spirit or the universe was working with me to heal some things, to do some major soul work. And so this book was inspired by a few events in my life, and it came to birth as I began my journey of doing a lot of soul work. And so the title, The Beauty of Being Free, is talking about being free from those parts of yourself that no longer serves you. It's about being free to be you and not be in bondage by the thoughts that you have within. And on the back where I talk about freeing yourself by renewing your mind in order to authentically claim it in your life. And I talk about how freedom is a mindset, and that no form of subjugation can contain a free mind, one that is conscious and aware. And I'm going to pause for a moment, because sometimes consciousness has to do with consciousness of certain parts and aspects of ourselves. And so not only was this about a journey of being free from external forces that tend to suppress and oppress, but it's also about an internal journey, a soulful journey, where you're becoming free from the aspects of yourself, or what we call the shadow self, that is not necessarily the best part of yourself, but sometimes the part that other people see that you may not necessarily see. And you may see the beauty in yourself, and you may reject that other part of yourself, but it's important to embrace your whole self. And so that part of being, the beauty of being free, is being free to embrace your whole self and releasing the shame that it's okay. This is me. I embrace this part of myself, and now I can work on letting go of those things that does not serve me. So in the first chapter, I won't read it. I just want to read a couple, a paragraph or two, if I may. And then I know I've answered the question, but then I'm going to talk about how you can get the book. And I want to say right now, before I start reading that, feel free to email me if you have any questions. And my email is dratiya@dratiyajones.com. And you can look at the bottom of the screen and it should tell you what the email address is. But be sure to email me if you have any questions. So I'm going to go to chapter 1. And chapter 1 is understanding real and authentic freedom. I'm just going to read maybe the first paragraph or two. I'm going to let the Spirit tell me when I'm supposed to stop. But it says, freedom is a multiplicate term. Simplistically, it is having the power or liberty to determine one's own action without restraint. However, to understand real and authentic freedom is a much deeper exploration. The word freedom is actually free plus dome. The word dome comes from the Latin root domus, which means house. It is also a hemispherical roof or vault. A vault is an underground chamber used for safekeeping valuables. It comes from the Latin root vaultere, which means to turn or leap. Stay with me. A roof is the highest point or uppermost part of a house or structure. Hemispherically means either of the two halves of the celestial sphere lying north or south of the celestial equator. So when hemispherically roof is mentioned, it is drawing reference to the north point of the sphere. Stay with me. Sphere simply means hollow space. Now, it has been said that you are the real house of God. A house is a dwelling place or shelter. The term God means to call, invoke, or pour. Pour comes from the Latin root parere, which means to purify. Call means to give a name to, visit, or literally to stand at the door and call. Therefore, if you are the house of God, this means that God lives in you. There's one more paragraph I'm supposed to read. Let's go a little deeper. We have established that you are in fact the house of God. So now, the hemispherical roof or vault of the house of God is the uppermost or top of your body, which directs you to the top of your head. However, dome also means to cover, and vault is an underground chamber. Therefore, your dome is your mind. Mind means memory, remembrance, or thought. In its root, it means prophet. The verb prophet means to speak, while the noun prophet is an interpreter or spokesperson. Are you following what I'm saying thus far? I need you to listen to your inner voice. And there's 2 more paragraphs. I know I say 1, but there's 2 more because I need to get to a part that is going to make all of what I said make sense. So we're going to go deeper into free. Free simply means being able to act at will without being under compulsion or restraint to do so. It is to be without obstruction or impediment. However, when you examine the meaning of free a little closer, in its root it means joyful, beloved, noble, and friend. Yet more importantly, free means love. So this is the last paragraph because this is where I touch on Harriet Tubman, because I talk about Harriet Tubman in the book. Harriet Tubman used the North Star as a guide to freedom. To Native Americans, the North Star is referred to as the star or the great chief in the sky. While it is not the brightest star, the North Star is one of the most significant stars because it is reliable for guidance. What makes it reliable is because of its outstanding quality of its location. The North Star is recognized as a symbol of stability, leadership, and guardianship. Now, I want to get to the real root of what inspired me in this book. God inspired me. That internal guide inspired me, and it came to birth through my husband, and the seed was planted by a wonderful friend called Amin, way back when I met him when I released my first book called From Ordinary to Extraordinary. And the amazing thing is, when you talk about the shadow self, there are certain things what they call nodes, or which is that intersecting process. So you have one thing that's called the south node, and you have another thing that's called the north node. The south nodes are those things that, or those behaviors or traits, that's your shadow self, that part of you that's important to get rid of. The North Node is those guiding principles or those guiding things that's going to help you to be able to reach your destiny. So the beauty of being free is being able to love and live in your strength and live in the love that is within inside of yourself and accept and embrace all aspects of yourself. And that's what inspired this book. So I hope I've touched on something that'll help you. But I want you to email me. If you have any questions, you can email me at Dr. Atiya at dratiyajones.com. And you can also get this book on Amazon. You can get it on my website. Some of you may have some questions or things that you may want to say. You may want to comment on this video. You can make comments on the video, or you can email me. And again, my email address is Dr. Atiya at dratiyajones.com. Thank you so much for listening and have an awesome day. And buy my book.